It is absolutely freezing outside. It's about 21 degrees. But this car leaves in exactly 6 days, so we got to make sure this thing gets done. One of the final, probably the most exciting things that we're doing on this car is installing some new wheels. And as you can see, we went with the classic setup for this car. We went with a set of BBS RSs. We got these babies rebuilt to our exact spec. Couldn't be happier with how these wheels came out, and I can't wait to get these on the car to see how it looks, and I'm sure you guys are going to be excited to see that as well. So let's go ahead, jack up the car. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to do a good amount of dialing in fitment and whatnot, but we don't have to worry about that too much just yet. We just gotta make sure that they're on the car. The car's looking good. We got wheels everywhere. We got our old E30 wheels. We have our new BBSs right here and right here. And then we also got our G80 wheels sitting here. These things are absolutely gigantic. So there's 4 of these. And then there's even my damaged wheel way back there. So yeah, all of this kind of needs a place to be put in, because right now it's just taking up a lot of space here and there. So yeah, I'm not selling any of these. If that's a question, I don't think so. I think I'm gonna keep everything just to have it, and you never know, we might need them again. Plus, my stock E30 wheels have very good tread on them, and there's no point of tossing these or selling these. Now, before we pull this car out so you guys can see the final product with the wheels on, and it does look absolutely beautiful. We did do a bunch of other modifications on the car while we had it up, just so it makes it easier to work on this car in the future. For one, we got this. If you know E30s, you know that the hood latch always ends up breaking, the cable gets loose, whatever. It's always a hassle to get these hoods open. So for that purpose, I actually got this little hood latch quick release. And if I pull this, my hood opens, and I don't have to go to the inside of the car to actually get my hood open. And my latch is actually broken, or the cable is very loose. So this is a perfect alternative to getting your hood open without any issues. Now that we have the engine bay open, there is a few other things that we did. For one, we finally got a new oil cap. My last one seemed to be leaking at different times. It would randomly leak here and there. So Garagistic actually offered a billet aluminum one. So I thought, why not just upgrade that while I'm upgrading everything else? We got that installed. That was a super easy fix. And then we also got our O2 sensor plugged up. When we installed the exhaust, we actually changed the location of the O2 sensor and the bung. So we actually had to extend the wiring, which I finally did. And we got that installed, tucked up, and hopefully our wires, which it seems to be a good amount of gap between the wire and the headers, we shouldn't have any issues. Now the other thing, and this is just completely my fault, I completely missed that one of our spark plugs wasn't plugged in. In my head, I thought the car was just running weird because I didn't have the O2 sensor plugged in, and then turns out I just completely missed a spark plug. I connected 5 of them, and then that 6th cylinder right in the back, I didn't have that plugged up, and that explains why. My headers were changing into this beautiful golden blue color, but the last one wasn't. That actually stayed the regular raw finish. So that was a little worrisome. I thought something was going on, but it was just a super simple mistake on my end. So we got that plugged up, and if you guys haven't seen them already, this is kind of how the headers are looking now. So they're actually looking really good. I like how the gold and the blue tint is hitting them. And then this is the one where obviously I didn't plug up the spark plug, but now it's plugged in, and we are good to go. That's enough of that. Let's go ahead and get this car out so you guys can see the final product. So this is how we're looking. Honestly, the car looks really good. In the garage, I thought the fitment wasn't as good and we had to dial it in a little bit more, but it's almost perfect, like almost perfect. So as you can see, we have the rears, and the rears are tucking right over the tire. Maybe we throw like a 3mm spacer on here and then lower it a little bit more if we can, and have this fender sitting as close to this lip as possible. I think that would be ideal, but the front can definitely come down a little bit, and that's possible because we do have a good amount of adjustment left in the front. So that's good news, but this is how the car is looking right now. So honestly, looks really, really good. And I didn't put my hubcaps on this side just yet because I wasn't sure if I needed to take them on or off, but on this side, we got the whole setup on both sides. Now, the cool thing is one of my friends actually 3D printed the hubcap tool, so I can actually tighten these things up and not have to worry about them ever falling off or flying off while I'm driving. So you can actually get them pretty tight on there, and then loosen them up with this is also a lot easier. But as you can see, we got the little BBS hubcap, and this fits perfectly on there. And I'll just put some tape around it just so it's a nice tight fit and it won't scratch up any of the paint. So shout out to you for making that for me. That came in super clutch. I don't have to go find one to buy one, but yeah. This is how we're looking. Fitment, honestly, really nice. So one last look before I toss this thing back in the garage because it is absolutely freezing outside. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the BBSs. I think this was a great color combo. I think the size is almost mint. Looks like we might be leaking something down there. What is that? I pull the car back in. I want to know what this is. That's gasoline. But why are we leaking gas? And it was coming from the exhaust area. Actually, I think I know what it could be. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I didn't plug in one of the spark plugs, and it's possible that our injectors were shooting gas into that cylinder, and obviously it was not burning it off because it had nowhere to go. So it's possible we even flooded that spark plug. We'll run it a little bit longer, maybe warm it up to temp, see if we can get that spark plug firing again. If not, it's probably better to just change it, but since we're on a timeline, yeah, ordering a new spark plug might not be the best time or best thing to do right now, but I'm hoping that's what it is. This thing is looking like a beauty now. We did do a small alignment. I did mess with the toe on the front, and we got our steering wheel straight, which is nice, but it's definitely pulling one way or the other. I can't really tell since I didn't go for an actual drive, but yeah, just take a look at the front. That's how we're sitting on the front, and then that's how we're sitting on the rear right now. Looks really good. On the rear, luckily we bought these spacers when we ran into that little issue with the other wheels. So what this could do is potentially help this fitment get dialed in. So if we throw that on there, this should, actually right now, it kind of meets up with that lip pretty well. So we might not even need a spacer, we just need to go a little bit lower. But I'm not sure if we can go any lower in the rear. I know a lot of people say go with 16s, rather than 17s, but I think the 17 fits this car perfectly, and with the aggressive new front bumper and whatnot, I think the 17 is going to be exactly what I need for the look that I'm going for. Obviously the car is not painted yet, so it's going to look 10 times better once the car is painted. One of the last things we need to do that I'm not really going to record, but just so you guys know, is I'm going to pull the entire interior out of the car. So driver's seat might be the only thing that stays, but door cards need to come off, rear seats, this other passenger seat will come out, and I'm going to get this car back to basically the frame from the inside, and I'll leave the dash in because that's way too much work. And the reason for that is because we are even going to paint our door jambs as well as our inner door skins, so all the metal behind here will also get painted, so you probably won't even tell this car was black at one point. Engine is going to get pulled out, that's going to get repainted, so basically everything on this car is going to be painted Isle of Man green, if I haven't shared that info already. So this thing is going to be looking like a beauty. If you want to stay tuned with the rest of the build on the E30 and the G80, go down, subscribe, drop a comment on what you think of the build so far, and give me ideas on what to do after this, because once it's off for paint, we're gonna have some time. We'll be focused on the G80 for a few months while this thing gets painted and gets back. So with that, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. So if anyone's wondering what our tire setup and our wheel specs are, we're running 195 45 17 in the front, and then we're running 205 45 17 in the rear. And then in terms of our wheel specs, so in the front we're running a 7.5-inch wheel, and then in the rear we're running 8.5. The lips on the front I believe are just 2 inches, and then the rears are 2.5, so slightly bigger. We went with a little bit of a safer, kind of less aggressive fitment, just because we're not on air, we are on coilover, so we want to make sure everything fit, and then we can kind of dial it in with spacers if needed. But for the most part, I think these should fit out very, very well. I'm a little hesitant on the rears. We can just dial that in with some spacers and be good to go.